Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So Michael at Val5Links posted this: 87 countries representing more than 90% of global GDP are looking at adopting a CBDC. Not going to get in this, but I think that the sheer number just speaks to where we're going here. 87 countries representing 90% of the global GDP, guys. So these are not small potatoes. This is a massive jump from just 35 countries exploring this option in May of 2020. 9 countries have already launched a digital currency, with Nigeria being one of the latest ones. 14 other countries, including China, South Korea, are already in the pilot stages to prepare for their official launch. So we have some updates here with regards to China. Completed its CBDC development in 2019, and at the beginning of January began deploying its pilot versions of the digital yuan wallet application for Android apps. Jamaica gives you guys a little bit of blurb on that. India, Jordan, Australia particularly said in December that it was still looking into adopting a digital currency. If we do not reform the current framework, it will be Silicon Valley that determines the future of our payment system. This coming from Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. Bank of England, Cambodia, Mexico. Of course, they mention South Korea, Japan, and Russia are looking into CBDC trials this year, and we've been getting some updates on Russia specifically, Iran, so on and so forth. So 90% of the global GDP looks like eventually everybody will have to get onto a CBDC. This is the plan, the Agenda 2030, what the World Economic Forum wants, all part of a plan, and what they're not telling you is the current system needs to be destroyed before this gets implemented. And here's the World Economic's 2030 vision. This is projected to go on for a decade, guys. And just some of the global initiatives here, including climate initiative, CBDCs, of course, definitely playing a large role in this. DJ Peter Vass posting this: Fed has solved the digital dollar issue. So this coming back to the United States, the Fed's research into the digital dollar has shown us a technical specification for how it will work. Researchers have designed a system that can handle more than 1.7 million transactions a second and settle payments in under 2 seconds, while operating 24/7 without service outages, according to a new paper on the subject. This was coming from the Boston Fed. This is called Project Hamilton. Their research into CBDC was developed to test the feasibility of a digital currency and not to give any recommendations onto whether the Fed should create one or not. It is based on the open source research platform OpenCBDC, according to the researchers from MIT's Digital Currency Initiative and the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. So even the US Fed, they are looking into CBDC adoption. Although, maybe a little late, they are still looking into this because we know this is going to be the future. And guys, I saw this from XRP Yoda. He passed this on to me. I will link this entire video in the description of this video. But this is B2B payments, okay? This has to do specifically with B2B payments. Coming from their YouTube channel, listen to this.
The benefits are clear, but what does the framework for modernized B2B payments look like? It's similar to signing up with an email provider to get and send emails. In a virtual e-invoice exchange framework, service providers act as access points to deliver data and information for their clients, just as email providers deliver email messages from various sources. Like your email's framework, there are common, prescribed industry standards to ensure interoperability. And as with email, this virtual framework allows businesses to connect once and exchange with many other businesses, creating the ability to send and receive invoice, payment, and remittance information with one another across an expansive network. First, suppliers engage with their e-invoicing provider, aka their access point. The supplier issues and sends an e-invoice. The supplier's access point then delivers that invoice to the buyer's access point, who sends it to the buyer. The buyer processes the invoice and pays through a preferred payment method like ACH, wire, card, or instant payment. E-remittance information can be sent through a set of access points, similar to the process for invoicing. Sending remittance information within a payment, such as via a request for payment in an instant payment, is still an option. This frictionless framework supports all payment types and addresses two of the biggest challenges to efficiency: the manual processing of invoices and remittance information. And with current technology and standards, businesses can embrace this modernization with minimal change to their accounting systems.
All right, and I'm just going to leave that there. Notice B2B payment systems. Talking about how businesses can transact with other businesses. I just noticed this stock image here that they put in this video looking to, on the one hand, there's going to be those domestic payments that will settle with CBDCs likely, but there's also going to be those international payments, and there is going to be a need for that conversion cryptocurrency that is going to be able to source a US dollar and convert it into a euro, for example, for a low cost at a fast speed, something that's efficient. And so this is just an introduction to where they are going with this B2B payment modernization. And down here they say, as the payments industry moves rapidly towards digitization, the Federal Reserve is dedicated to helping businesses embrace B2B payment modernization. How many US businesses do business on an international level? Many of them. So this is going to be very, very important. For the integration, we already know Fedwire 2 integrated with Volente's Volpay. That is Ripple enabled. So, this all just speaking to how the world is going to run on Ripple in the United States. Globally, we are going to see more demand for XRP because the money is going to continue to flow, which brings me to this. Now, I saw this the other day. Citizen of the Future, a blockchain theory at Utility Theory here on Twitter, posted this. Now, this is a big deep dive into this new IMF document that was released on January 26th. I got to give full credit to him. It does relate to XRP and XLM, and he does do a video on this as well. His video, about an hour long. It's down here in the thread, so I will link his tweet thread in the description. It's this one right here. And if you want to watch his video, it will be linked down there. I wanted to go through this though, talk about some of the highlighted points. So, blockchain consensus mechanisms, a primer for global IMF supervisors. And so this talks about the difference between POW, POS, and DPoS, and FBFT, XRP, and XLM. So both these cryptocurrencies are mentioned in this document. This is a very important document as the IMF represents a consortium of 190 countries and pushing for carbon neutral countries by the year 2030. So this is directly in line with that 2030 agenda that I talked about earlier with the World Economic Forum, the United Nations. If you just look up 2030 agenda, you can see all the organizations that are involved with this. This does connect to the Great Reset as well. The agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. They're always going to frame it in this positive light. It also seeks to strengthen universal peace for larger freedom. We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. All countries and all stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan. We are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want to heal and secure our planet. Essentially, what they want to do, though, is take the wealth from the wealthy Western countries, concentrate that wealth to the globalist elites, and bring people who once had wealth down several pegs while bringing the rest of the world up, essentially leveling the playing field, eliminating capitalism, and that drive for competition, which essentially is what built America. I don't think that plan is going to work. However, I'm just kind of giving you guys some context with regards to what is going on. So this is what they want to do. So here is just an executive summary here. Financial services has the potential to generate benefits for many stakeholders, but can also pose unique risks. And so they talk about DLT using blockchains, in-use payments, issuing debit and equity, trade finance, and post-trade process. Currently limited, but use cases are increasingly in some jurisdictions. DLT has the potential to disintermediate markets, reduce costs, increase speed and efficiency, and create secure records of transparent, immutable, and audible data and activity. DLT can provide real-time control and supervision to financial markets. Consensus markets underpins the effective operation of blockchains and ensure a single, consistent, and honest ledger. So they're talking about DLT versus proof of stake. Down here they say, for example, some consensus mechanisms might prioritize speed and efficiency, while others might prioritize security. And then down here, delegated proof of stake, Byzantine fault tolerance, supporting the Bitcoin blockchain. Proof of work is the most popular consensus mechanism, and they're going to eventually give reasons why that's not going to work. Proof of work is a secure and resilient method of forming consensus, but it consumes significant energy and can be slow and expensive during times of high network traffic. So again, going to their 2030 agenda, sustainable development, well, you can't really do that with Bitcoin. However, they raise new regulatory concerns about areas such as competition, and they run counter to the core ideals of decentralized networks. So again, a lot in here. The Bitcoin blockchain proof of work is the most popular consensus mechanism, but it suffers from significant drawbacks, as we mentioned. Authorities should also consider a technology-neutral agnostic approach, upskill supervisors, participate in tech sprints and regulatory sandbox, and deeper public-private collaborations. So the public-private, that is also going to be something that these organizations are going to gravitate to. Authorities should also consider whether a technology-neutral approach can continue delivering mandates when diverse new technologies deliver different outcomes, and may consider a more proactive approach to supporting or restricting certain technologies. Better supervise new technologies. Regulatory best practice, particularly in jurisdictions where there might be skills gaps. Tech sprints and regulatory sandboxes. Deeper private and public collaboration. We are seeing this already. Difference between technology neutral and technology agnosticism. Explanation of what consensus mechanisms are, definitions of blockchain terminology. So again, just giving some more detail, stuff that we already know, the difference between DLT and traditional blockchains like the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum as two examples, proof of work. Down here, layers of a blockchain network. Distributed ledgers are considered Byzantine fault tolerant if they have one consistent and honest ledger, and that distributed participants can come to an agreement to solve such problems and ensure agreement. So why consensus mechanisms matter? Blockchain matters. The different consensus mechanisms come with their own advantages and disadvantages. Blockchains can be public or private, permissioned or permissionless. These designs bring with them new, unique regulatory opportunities and risks. And this note will focus on the most popular consensus mechanism that underpins blockchain systems in financial services. It is not just an exhaustive list of all the consensus mechanisms. So they're talking about financial services specifically. Of course, we know Ripple XRP and Stellar's XLM, two cryptocurrencies that are part of that list. And I just thought I'd bring up that PDF for you guys. So here is the PDF, FinTech Notes, Blockchain Consensus Mechanisms, a primer for supervisors. Again, prepared just last month, January 2022. So this is all brand new information coming directly from the IMF's website. Let's continue though. The IMF warning: consensus mechanisms should not harm or interfere with the global aim to transition to a low carbon economy. So again, proof of work, energy intensive, doesn't align with the 2030 agenda as outlined here by the United Nations or the World Economic Forum. So let's just go back here. Consensus mechanisms should not harm or interfere with the global aim to transition to a low carbon economy. A transition to a greener economy supports the goals of the IMF, as well as the goals of many regulatory authorities which seek to ensure sustainable growth in their respective markets while not harming the environment. Sustainable growth. The use of energy-intensive methods to achieve consensus presents unacceptable risks to the financial stability and society. As such, methods exacerbate the effects of climate change. Recently, to manage the risk of climate change and mitigate environmental impacts from crypto assets, the Swedish Finansinspektionen, can't pronounce that, called for the European Union to ban proof of work mining. So a key consideration of authorities should be moving to less environmentally damaging methods of operating blockchains. This is where we're going to see those environmentally friendly cryptocurrencies thrive. So public and private blockchains, public less susceptible to cyber attacks and operational failures. And so they're just highlighting here this section, public and private blockchains, regulatory implications, talking about just that. This is where it starts to get interesting. Number 9, the IMF has set out that the financial sector has an important role to play in the fight against climate change and seeks to support reductions in climate change risk and mitigate the impact of adverse climate events. So it sounds kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Why would the financial sector be responsible for this unless the whole plan was to move onto a cryptocurrency system that is essentially going to change the face of finance around the world? And that cryptocurrency system cannot be Bitcoin. Clearly, it has to be a proof of stake system, cannot be proof of work. And so here they talk about the Bitcoin protocol consumes considerable energy because brute force requires specialized computing systems to run through all possible solutions until the winning solution is found, an effort that uses significant power. So just demonstrating how Bitcoin is energy inefficient. Currently, the Bitcoin blockchain can process approximately 7 transactions per second. So we can't even run on something that produces that few transactions per second. Compare that to Visa and MasterCard, which average roughly 1,700 transactions per second. Inconsistencies can also lead to risks in settlement finality. Transactions between counterparties carry risks including credit, liquidity, operational, and legal risks, all of which can trigger systemic hazards. Rules around settlement finality aim to mitigate these risks. So notice this, risks including credit, liquidity, operational, and legal. Well, We know what can solve for the liquidity issue. XRP, of course, part of this narrative essentially is everything that Bitcoin is not. The IMF says proof of work is seen to be potentially centralized as mathematics. So we talked a little bit about that. Let me go down here. IMF view on proof of stake. So proof of stake is built like the legacy system to enrich the already wealthy. We know BH, Bill Hinman, SEC, and the IMF just told us why you guys are giving a free pass to Ethereum. And so just another screen grab here describing proof of stake. There's a lot of great information in here, guys. I think a lot of it we know already, but again, I will link this tweet thread in the description of the video if you guys are interested. So DPoS, benefits of DPoS, including energy savings, greater decentralization, and promotes great democratization. DPoS promotes greater democratization, that is delegated proof of stake, decentralization, and can create positive outcomes for regulated activities in payments or trade finance. The DPoS model operates a voting system where the stakeholders chosen to validate a block can outsource their work to a third party. These third parties are known as witnesses and are responsible for achieving consensus during the generation and validation of new blocks. Benefits of DPoS include energy savings, greater decentralization, and positive participant behaviors. DPoS promotes greater decentralization. All token holders can play some role in the operationalization of the network. DPoS also aims to promote positive behaviors from participants. So DPoS, a relatively new, yet it provides opportunities for firms to generate efficiencies through a relatively fast transaction throughput and can be delivered in both permission and permissionless networks. If developed and implemented in a compliant manner, DPoS can create positive outcomes for markets and consumers by providing interesting use cases in regulated activities like payments. It creates a truly decentralized environment with the potential for quicker transaction rates. Number 13, FBFT is a Byzantine fault-tolerant CM that aims to solve issues of centralization with greater scalability. And in this part here, they do also note Ripple and Stellar. And I'll just read that part down here. Those nodes are likely to overlap or intersect with other quorum slices. Where this occurs, it is known as quorum intersection. Quorum intersections allow small quorum slices to build agreements across the network, improving scalability. And so scalability is definitely one of those things that is absolutely necessary for this new financial framework, this new system to work. Because without the scalability, we cannot have that mass utility, we cannot have that mass demand for these particular cryptocurrencies. And so just in the footnote here, well-known use cases are Ripple's XRP and Stellar's XLM. They just mentioned Ripple and Stellar down here, but I think it's obvious what they mean. So ultimately, in a nutshell, the IMF says proof of work is too energy intensive, considered a viable consensus mechanism involving many regulated financial services activities. It runs counter to several of the IMF's aims, particularly those that involve transitioning to a greener economy. So in conclusion, proof of work is too energy intensive, runs counter to the IMF. So he's just quoting this article here. This page just giving a chart comparison of different consensus mechanisms, showing how proof of work likely very low in the list of what will be implemented compared to other blockchains, different types of blockchains. Really a detailed analysis here. But Citizen of the Future also gives us some extra information here to meet these goals. So this is talking about the climate change issue. Global carbon dioxide emissions need to be reduced by 45% by 2030 from 2010 levels and reach net zero emissions by 2050. This is their goal, and you can see people are asking, is carbon neutrality by 2030 even possible? Well, this is what the mandate is. I mean, it's all here, and I will link this in the description. The planet, we are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production, sustainably managing its natural resources and taking urgent action on climate control. You know what this translates to, guys? The world elites, the World Economic Forum, they have captured certain Western nations, rich in resources like Canada. They're trying to do it with the United States, Australia, many European nations as well. And what they want to do is take those valuable natural resources and concentrate them at the top, dispersing everything equally amongst the citizens of the planet. And so if you are a freshwater rich nation like Canada, like the United States, think about the Great Lakes. Well, under the World Economic Forum's policy, that fresh water is not going to belong exclusively to those rich nations if they have their way. And this is why, this is a double-edged sword, because we're invested in XRP, maybe some of us in XLM. So we understand how this can be beneficial to us, to our pocketbooks. Yet the downside is I do not want to be a nationless citizen. I want to be a citizen of my country. So the double-edged sword, there's the downside, but there's the upside, guys. It looks as though us XRP hodlers, if we have the patience to keep hodling XRP, this is going to be a new financial system. And I truly believe this, even if the global reset doesn't work out, even if their plans get thwarted and none of those, crazy harebrained schemes come to fruition. The one thing that I think will be revamped is the financial system, because that is on the verge of collapse. So there is going to be a cryptocurrency component to this. We are already seeing this. How totalitarian it'll be is going to be dependent on if the globalists win. So there is some middle ground there. I do think we can have our cake and eat it too. Just going back to that point of Ripple and XRP and some other cryptocurrencies, XRP, Stellar's XLM, XDC, of course, is the ISO 20022 integration. I believe these are all emerging financial standards across institutions the IMF talks about in the document. And so just a few more screen grabs with regards to that. We got this flow chart here. Tokens below have been the ISO 20022 interoperable standard, processes behind them to make them compliant. We got Stellar's XLM, of course, XRP, IOTA is on this list as well, XFIN, XDC, Algorand, so some of the cryptocurrencies that I know you and I are invested in. Regulatory authorities should consider the implications of different consensus mechanisms. So again, talking a little bit more about consensus. And here, Citizen of the Future just mentions this. Please note, I am technology agnostic and cheer for Bitcoin as it's the grandfather of the blockchain markets. I'm just interpreting the IMF's views from my perspective as I write on regulated DLT content. I hope you enjoyed my highlighted notes of this IMF document. So I gotta thank Citizen of the Future for giving us such a deep dive into this. Again, his video is linked in this tweet thread, so I will link this tweet thread in the description for those of you guys interested. And so again, guys, just to remind you, this is an IMF document published just this month. I believe it was from just last week, February 2nd, I believe, 2022. There it is. There's the copyright, 2022, from the International Monetary Fund. Gotta bring it back to this because this speaks volumes. This was a photo from, I believe, 2019 high-level advisory group of the International Monetary Fund's Interdepartmental Working Group on Finance and Technology. We got Ross Lekow here, among many others, including Christine Lagarde. She was at the IMF at that time. And Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse here. A picture is certainly worth 1,000 words. One other thing I wanted to mention down here was, this great mention by XAnon24. I forgot about this interview as well. Brad Garlinghouse on a panel with Ross Lekow. And if you guys have seen that video, I don't have the video up here, but if you guys have seen that video, I think you know what I'm talking about. And again, adopting these cryptocurrencies, the cryptocurrencies that are really going to change the face of finance, including XRP, Algorand, XLM, just to name 3 of the 6 cryptocurrencies mentioned in this World Economic Forum document from last year, cryptocurrencies that are going to change the financial system. Of course, we got Algorand up there along with XRP and Stellar. So the world is changing, guys. The US has to keep pace. And I think it's pretty clear with this deep dive from Citizen of the Future where the price of some of the chosen cryptocurrencies running on DLT technology are going to go. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.